Welcome to my channel, HFY Story Hub. The alien princess snapped a soldier's spine with one hand, then collapsed to her knees crying because the palace lights were too loud. Nobody understood what they were seeing. Not the guards pointing plasma rifles at their future queen. Not the scientists screaming orders across the royal chamber. And definitely not Commander Elias Ward, the exhausted human who had been dragged out of a cargo station 3 hours earlier for what was apparently now an interstellar disaster. Another soldier approached carefully. "Your Highness, please calm yourself," the princess screamed. Every glass panel in the chamber exploded outward instantly. The soldier flew backward across the room. Alarms erupted. Guards panicked. The princess clutched both sides of her head like the sound itself was cutting into her skull. Elias watched the chaos for exactly 3 seconds before muttering, "Oh, you idiots!" Advisor Talron spun toward him angrily. "Excuse me. You're killing her." The alien froze. Elias pointed toward the flashing red lights above them. "Those alarms. The shouting. The weapons. Every time you panic, she gets worse." "That is absurd," Talron snapped. Another alarm pulse echoed through the chamber. The princess cried out in pain again, and the entire floor cracked beneath her feet. Silence. Elias sighed tiredly. "Yeah, really absurd." The chamber looked like a battlefield. Broken walls. Collapsed pillars. Terrified guards trying not to move too suddenly. At the center stood Princess Liara, heir to the most powerful empire in known space. And she looked terrified. Not dangerous. Terrified. That realization hit Elias harder than expected. The queen entered then. Queen Seralith. Tall, cold, controlled. The entire chamber fell silent the moment she appeared. Her eyes moved first to the destruction, then to her daughter shaking in the center of the room. Finally, to the human. "You requested an outsider," she said quietly to Talron. The advisor looked uncomfortable immediately. "No internal methods have worked." Elias folded his arms. "You tried treating her like a malfunctioning weapon instead of a person. Great strategy." Several guards visibly tensed. The queen, surprisingly, did not react angrily. Instead, she studied him carefully. "You speak boldly for someone surrounded by armed soldiers." Elias glanced around. "Honestly, they seem more scared than I am." The uncomfortable silence that followed proved he was correct. Another sharp hum echoed from the palace walls. Liara flinched violently. Her breathing broke apart instantly. Elias noticed something the others didn't. Every sound hit her differently. The lights. The vibrations in the floor. The overlapping voices. Her ears twitched constantly like she was hearing things nobody else could detect. Too much input. Too much pressure. The poor girl was drowning in noise. Talron stepped toward Liara carefully. "Your Highness." She reacted instantly. Power exploded outward from her body. The advisor hit the wall hard enough to crack the metal behind him. Guards raised weapons immediately. "Don't," Elias barked. The force in his voice shocked the entire room. Even Liara froze. Elias stepped forward slowly. "No alarms," he said calmly. "No shouting. No weapons." One guard hesitated. "Commander, she just attacked." "She reacted." "Different thing." The queen watched him carefully now, testing him. Elias kept walking toward the princess. Every guard in the room looked horrified. Liara stared at him with wide silver eyes. There was fear in them. Confusion too. But not hatred. Interesting. He stopped a few feet away. "Hey," he said softly. She twitched slightly at the sound but didn't attack. "Progress. What's your name?" A long pause followed. Then quietly, "Liara." "Okay, Liara. I'm Elias." Another vibration pulsed through the walls. Her shoulders tightened instantly. Elias looked upward. "What is that sound?" Talron slowly stood from the broken wall. "The palace energy grid. It sounds like a dying engine. It powers the capital. It's also torturing her." The chamber fell silent again. The Queen's expression changed slightly. Tiny. Almost invisible. But Elias caught it. Doubt. Good. Liara suddenly looked directly at him. You are quiet. Elias blinked. That might be the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me. One nervous guard moved suddenly nearby. Liara flinched violently again. Energy surged across the chamber. The floor trembled. Several soldiers raised rifles. Elias made a decision that felt either very brave or incredibly stupid. Probably both. He stepped closer. Now every weapon in the room aimed at him too. Talron looked horrified. Human, move away from her. Elias ignored him. Liara. Her breathing remained uneven. It hurts, she whispered. Those 3 words changed everything. Not because they were loud. Because the Empire's terrifying princess sounded completely broken. Elias slowly lowered himself onto one knee in front of her, making himself smaller. Safer. The guards stared like they were watching a man kneel before a monster. But Elias didn't see a monster. He saw someone overwhelmed beyond endurance. You don't need to fight everything, he said quietly. Liara stared at him. Nobody had ever spoken to her like that before. Not as a weapon. Not as a problem. As a person. The palace hummed again. She trembled instantly. Without thinking, Elias held out his hand. The entire room stopped breathing. Talron whispered, if she touches him, he dies. But Liara wasn't looking at the guards anymore. Only Elias. Slowly, carefully, she reached toward him. The moment her fingers touched his hand, every light in the palace went black. Deep beneath the capital, something ancient woke up, and a massive mechanical voice echoed through the darkness. Human command signature detected. The ancient machine beneath the palace recognized the human before anyone else did. Human command signature detected. The voice echoed through the dead dark chamber like a god waking from sleep. Then the entire capital shook. Guards stumbled. Scientists screamed. And somewhere far below the palace, massive engines began roaring to life after thousands of years of silence. Emergency lights flooded the chamber red. Princess Liara still held Elias's hand. And for the first time since he arrived, she looked calm. Not struggling. Not panicking. Calm. Talron stared at them in horror. Impossible. Another violent tremor slammed through the floor. The palace walls shifted. Ancient symbols ignited beneath layers of metal hidden for centuries. Queen Seralith stepped forward instantly. Seal the lower sectors. Nobody moved. They were too busy staring at the human. Elias blinked slowly. I'm starting to feel extremely uncomfortable. The machine spoke again. Neural synchronization confirmed. Then a hologram erupted across the chamber. A massive underground structure appeared beneath the capital. Circular. Endless. Ancient. Rows of colossal machines stretched deeper than the eye could see. Power readings exploded across every monitor. Scientists panicked immediately. Core systems are activating. Containment levels failing. The heart is waking up. Elias pointed at the hologram. Okay, I have several concerns already. Liara suddenly tightened her grip around his hand. It hears you, she whispered. Great, Elias muttered. I hate that. Talron looked pale now. No human has ever activated the heart. Elias frowned. No human has ever been here. That changes nothing. No, it changes literally everything. Another quake shook the chamber. The floor beneath them cracked open slightly. Heat surged upward from below. The Queen's voice remained calm, but Elias noticed the tension in her eyes. Our ancestors buried the heart after the collapse wars. Because. A long pause. Then quietly. Entire worlds died when it awakened last time. Silence hit the chamber hard. Elias stared at her. You people really save important information for dramatic moments. Suddenly every screen in the room distorted violently. Then one symbol appeared across all displays. A human handprint. The entire chamber froze. Talron whispered one word like it physically hurt him. Precursors. Elias looked around. I assume that means something terrible. The machine answered for them. Precursor authority acknowledged. A pulse of energy exploded through the palace. Then hidden doors across the chamber began unfolding. Massive walls shifted aside, revealing ancient black metal corridors beneath the royal complex. Dust poured from forgotten passageways untouched for ages. The machine continued speaking. Awaiting commander authorization. Every eye turned toward Elias. He pointed at himself immediately. No. Absolutely not. I refuse responsibility for whatever nightmare bunker this is. Liara looked at him carefully. You are afraid. Yes, Elias answered instantly. Because your basement is talking to me. For the first time, something softer appeared in her expression. Not amusement exactly, but close. The queen noticed it too. Her daughter had terrified entire armies for years. Yet somehow this exhausted human was calming her by simply treating her normally. Talron suddenly stepped forward angrily. This cannot continue. The human must be separated from her immediately. Liara's breathing changed instantly. The tension returned to her shoulders. Elias noticed at once. Easy, he said quietly. Her eyes snapped back to him. The violent energy spikes weakened immediately. The room noticed. And the realization terrified them. The human wasn't controlling her. She trusted him. The machine suddenly interrupted again. External threat detected. Every screen shifted instantly. The capital city appeared. Then orbit above it. Hundreds of black warships emerged from hyperspace. Huge. Silent. Deadly. No diplomatic signals. No warning. Tauren's face lost all color. The Dominion. Queen Serelith turned cold instantly. Battle stations. Elias looked between them. Friends of yours. No, the Queen said quietly. They exterminated the precursors. The chamber fell silent. Then everyone slowly looked back toward Elias. The implication landed all at once. If the machine recognized humans as precursors, then humanity once stood against the species now entering orbit. A soldier's terrified voice echoed through comms. Enemy fleet charging weapons. Outside the palace windows, the sky suddenly lit up. The first orbital strike hit the city. The explosion shook the entire capital. Screams erupted across communication channels. Another blast followed. Then another. The Dominion had not come to negotiate. They came to finish something. The machine beneath the palace pulsed violently. Ancient systems awakened deeper underground. Power surged through the hidden structure like blood through veins. Then the mechanical voice returned. War protocols restored. Massive towers began rising from beneath the city streets. Gigantic weapons hidden for centuries erupted toward the sky. Citizens across the capital screamed in confusion as ancient defense systems awakened around them. Elias stared upward through the palace windows. What the hell did humanity build? Nobody answered. Because nobody knew. Liara stepped beside him slowly. Not frightened now. Focused. The burning sky reflected in her silver eyes. They came because of you, she whispered. Elias shook his head. No. They came because of this machine. The Queen looked toward him carefully. You activated it. Another orbital strike slammed into the city. Closer this time. Dust rained from the ceiling. Talron stepped backward nervously. If the Dominion discovers humanity survived. They'll what? Elias snapped. Nobody answered. The silence told him enough. The Dominion wasn't hunting a species. They were hunting a memory. And humanity had just announced itself to the galaxy. The machine's voice thundered through the palace one final time. Primary Commander acknowledged. A pause. Then, welcome back, humanity. The alien fleet stopped firing the moment the machine said the word humanity. Above the burning capital, hundreds of black Dominion warships suddenly froze in orbit. Not hesitating. Afraid. Deep beneath the palace, the ancient heart pulsed like something alive. Welcome back, humanity. The mechanical voice echoed across the chamber. Every alien in the room slowly turned toward Elias. Not with curiosity anymore. With fear. Talron stepped backward first. The stories were true. Elias looked at him sharply. You people keep saying things like that and somehow never explaining them. Another explosion shook the palace overhead. Dust rained from the ceiling. Outside, the city burned beneath orbital fire. But the Dominion fleet still held distance from the rising defense towers surrounding the capital. Like they recognized them. Like they remembered. The heart suddenly activated again. Massive holograms filled the chamber. Ancient battlefields appeared in the air. Entire star systems on fire. Alien civilizations fleeing through collapsing gates. And at the center of every war, humans. Not weak. Not primitive. Terrifying. Human ships rammed enemy fleets while burning apart. Human soldiers fought after losing limbs. Entire worlds escaped because humans stayed behind to hold impossible lines. Liara stared silently at the projections. They were protecting everyone, she whispered. Confirmed, the heart answered. Elias felt cold. Because the humans in those recordings looked familiar. Not physically. Emotionally. The same stubbornness. The same refusal to quit. The same insane willingness to die for strangers. Talron looked pale. The precursors were not conquerors. The next projection changed. Now the Dominion appeared. Massive black warships devouring entire planets. Civilizations erased in fire. Billions dead. Then came humanity. Standing between the Dominion and the rest of the galaxy. One final recording appeared. A human commander. Exhausted. Bleeding. He looked directly into the recording device. If Earth falls, the man said quietly, make sure something survives us. Static consumed the message. Silence filled the chamber. Elias couldn't breathe for a second. Humanity didn't disappear. They sacrificed themselves. The heart confirmed it immediately. Human extinction containment strategy delayed Dominion expansion by 6,112 years. Queen Seralith lowered her gaze slightly. A debt the galaxy forgot. The room shook violently. The Dominion fleet resumed firing. This time directly at the palace. One blast tore through part of the upper city. Emergency channels exploded with screaming voices. The heart spoke calmly. Defense network operating at 41%. That's not enough, is it? Elias asked. No. Honest. Direct. Terrifying. Talron looked toward the holograms desperately. Can the old weapons stop them? Negative. The chamber fell silent again. The Dominion fleet began descending lower through the atmosphere. Thousands of smaller attack ships poured from the massive carriers overhead. Like black rain. Liara stepped closer to Elias instinctively. Not because she feared the enemy. Because she trusted him. The realization hit Elias hard. This entire empire had feared her for years. And all she ever needed was someone to understand what hurt her. Humanity really was different. Not stronger. Not smarter. Different. The heart suddenly projected another image. A hidden structure beneath the planet. Long. Massive. Beautiful. A ship. Not alien. Human. Talron's voice trembled. The Ark. Queen Seralith looked stunned. It survived. Ark-class command vessel operational, the heart announced. Elias stared upward at the massive hidden ship beneath the capital. What exactly is that thing? The answer came immediately. Final Human Extinction Protocol. That sounded incredibly bad. Another orbital strike slammed into the city. Closer. The chamber lights flickered violently. The heart continued. Ark vessel contained surviving human military archives, command systems, and planetary defense authority. Talron looked horrified now. If the Dominion sees that ship activate. A new voice suddenly interrupted across every communication channel. Cold. Mechanical. Alien. Human presence confirmed. Every screen shifted instantly to the face of a Dominion commander. Tall. Black armor. White burning eyes. The alien stared directly at Elias. And for the first time since arriving, Elias saw genuine terror in another species. "That is impossible," the commander whispered. The heart answered before Elias could speak. "Statement incorrect." The Dominion commander immediately changed expression. Fear became rage. "All fleets," he ordered, "destroy the planet." Thousands of weapons charged in orbit. The sky above the capital turned white. The Queen looked toward Elias sharply. "We cannot stop all of that." The heart responded calmly. "Correct." Silence. Then Liara grabbed Elias's hand again. Instantly the heart pulsed brighter. Energy surged through the chamber. Dual synchronization detected. Talron blinked rapidly. "What does that mean?" The heart answered. "Alternative survival probability identified." The giant underground ship suddenly powered on completely. Blue light flooded the hidden cavern beneath the city. The Ark awakened, and every Dominion vessel in orbit immediately began retreating, running, panicking, because they recognized the ship. Elias looked upward slowly. What did humanity do to these people? The heart paused, then answered with terrifying calm. Humanity did not win the last war. A pause. They survived longer than the Dominion believed possible. The Ark began rising beneath the capital. Massive engines shaking the planet itself. The Dominion fleet opened fire desperately. Too late. Ancient human defense towers answered first. Beams of white light ripped through orbit. Entire enemy warships vanished instantly. The Queen stared upward in disbelief. Talron looked like reality itself had broken. And beside Elias, Liara smiled for the first time. Small, soft, real. Because the galaxy's most feared princess had finally realized something important. Humans were terrifying too. But not because they loved war. Because even extinction couldn't make them stop protecting people.